My mother said it while standing in my kitchen. You owe me everything. Not angry, not loud, certain. The words landed heavier than any shout. I was holding a grocery bag in one hand, keys in the other. I had just finished a 12-hour shift. My feet hurt. My head buzzed. She looked around my small apartment and nodded once. You live like this because of me, she continued. If I didn't bring you to this country, you'd have nothing. I set the bag down slowly. I never said I wasn't grateful, I replied. She waved her hand. Grateful isn't enough. That sentence changed something inside me. Growing up, gratitude had been my job, my duty, my identity. Every meal she cooked, every bill she paid, every story about sacrifice. I had learned early that love came with reminders. She crossed her arms. Everything you earn, everything you become, it's because of me. I nodded out of habit, but inside, something cracked. For the first time, I didn't feel guilt. I felt distance. And I knew this moment would not pass quietly. My mother raised me alone. She worked 2 jobs, sometimes 3. She used to say, I carried you across oceans. That sentence followed me my whole life. When I wanted new shoes, she reminded me of borderlines and long flights. When I wanted time with friends, she reminded me of sleepless nights. When I wanted freedom, she reminded me of hunger. I learned quickly not to ask. She didn't say no. She said, after all I gave up? That was worse. Other kids were grounded. I was indebted. In school, teachers praised my discipline, my silence, my obedience. They didn't know it came from fear, not of punishment, but of disappointment. I never wanted her to sigh. That sigh felt heavier than yelling. When she looked tired, I felt guilty for existing. When she smiled, I felt I had earned oxygen. That's how it was. So when she said I owed her everything, it wasn't new. It was just louder than before. I started working at 16, not because we needed money, though we did, but because she said, a good son helps. I handed her most of my paycheck. She called it contributing. I called it normal. When I got into college, she cried. Not from pride, from fear. Who will help me now? She asked. I promised I would still send money, and I did, every month, even when I skipped meals, even when my roommates went out and I stayed in. She would call and say, rent went up. I would say, okay. She would say, my back hurts. I would send more. She never asked if I was okay. She assumed I was, because I was young, and young people, in her mind, could carry anything. After graduation, I got my first full-time job. Nothing fancy, just stable. I was proud. When I told her my salary, she smiled, then calculated. That means you can help more now, she said. It wasn't a question. Soon, my money had a purpose before I did. Her bills, her repairs, her emergencies. There was always an emergency. When I said I wanted to move closer to work, she frowned. Why waste money on rent, she said. You already have a room here. A room that wasn't really mine. A life that wasn't really mine. When I finally moved out, she cried for 3 days. Not because she missed me, because she felt abandoned. That word followed me. You left me. Even when I visited weekly, even when I paid, even when I called every night. Leaving physically was easy. Leaving emotionally felt impossible. My career grew slowly. I worked hard, took extra shifts, learned skills at night. When I got promoted, my boss congratulated me. My mother asked how much more I'd earn. When I bought my first car, she asked why I needed one. When I traveled for work, she said, "Must be nice." Every achievement came with a shadow. I stopped sharing good news. It always turned into expectation. I learned to downplay everything. I'm fine. It's nothing. Just work. That kept peace, or at least silence. But silence builds pressure, and pressure always finds a crack. The crack came the day I told her I was thinking of moving cities. Better opportunity, better pay, a chance to grow. She stared at me like I'd insulted her. So now you want to leave again? I visit, I help. Nothing changes, I said carefully. She stood up. You think your life is yours? She asked. I didn't answer. She leaned forward. I gave up my youth for you, my dreams, my family. Her voice shook. You owe me everything. That was the first time she said it clearly. Not implied, not hinted, spoken. And something inside me went quiet. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing the word owe, like a bill that never ends. I thought of everything I'd done, the money, the time, the choices I didn't make. I wasn't angry. I was tired. Tired of earning love. Tired of proving loyalty. Tired of being a son only when useful. I realized something frightening. If I kept going like this, I would never belong to myself. Not at 30, not at 50, not ever. That thought scared me more than her disappointment. I delayed the move, not because I agreed with her, because guilt is patient. It waits. She acted normal again, cooked, talked, laughed, as if nothing happened. But I had changed. I started noticing patterns, how praise came after payments, how affection followed obedience, how warmth disappeared when I hesitated. It wasn't cruelty, it was conditioning. She believed love meant sacrifice, and sacrifice meant control. I don't think she even knew she was doing it. That made it worse. A few months later, I got the offer again. Same city, higher pay, clear growth path. I didn't tell her right away. I sat with the decision alone. No advice, no permission, just truth. I realized something simple. Gratitude should not erase adulthood. Respect should not cancel choice. And love should not come with invoices. When I finally told her, she went quiet. Too quiet. That silence felt dangerous. She didn't yell, she didn't cry. She simply said, "If you leave, don't forget who made you." I looked at her and felt something new. Not anger, clarity. I won't forget, I said. But I won't belong either. Her eyes hardened. You think you're free? I nodded slowly. I think I'm learning. She turned away, and I knew the real battle hadn't started yet. After I accepted the new job, my mother stopped calling. At first, I thought she needed space. Then days passed. Then weeks. When I finally called her, she answered on the third ring. Yes, she said, cold. I just wanted to check on you. I'm fine, she replied. You're busy now. The way she said it made busy sound like betrayal. I told her I would still help with bills. She laughed once. Money isn't the problem, she said. Respect is. I didn't know how to respond, so I sent money anyway. She didn't thank me. When I moved cities, she didn't come help. She didn't say goodbye. She sent one message. Don't forget where you came from. I read it in my empty apartment. Boxes everywhere. Silence louder than traffic. For the first time, I felt both free and alone. I threw myself into work. Long hours, new responsibilities. I learned fast. My manager noticed. I was trusted with bigger tasks. For once, my effort turned into growth, not obligation. Still, every month I sent money home, without reminder, without complaint. Part of me hoped consistency would soften her. It didn't. Her calls returned slowly, but they were different. She didn't ask how I was, she asked what I earned. When I hesitated, she said, "A son shouldn't hide from his mother." So I told her. There was a pause. "That's it?" she asked. Something inside me flinched. She started talking about repairs, medical checks, neighbors. Every call ended with need. I realized she never called just to hear my voice, only to measure my usefulness. That truth hurt more than anger ever could. One evening, she said something that stayed with me. "I didn't raise you to think for yourself." She said it casually, like stating weather. "I raised you to take care of me." I sat in silence, phone pressed to my ear. I wanted to argue, but arguing meant she still had power, so I said nothing. She took my silence as agreement. That night, I stared at my ceiling and understood something painful. In her story, I wasn't a son. I was an investment. The pressure grew. If I missed a call, she accused me of changing. If I delayed money, she brought up sacrifice. "I worked with pain in my body," she'd say. "I ate less so you could eat." All true, and all used like chains. I started waking up anxious. My success felt heavy, like something stolen. I realized I was paying twice, once with money, once with peace, and peace was running out. At work, my life was improving. At home, it was shrinking. I was promoted again. My boss said, "You're reliable, grounded." I smiled politely. Inside, I felt split. Two lives, one growing, one draining. When I told my mother about the promotion, she replied, "Then you can send more." No pride, no joy, just calculation. That night, I didn't sleep. For the first time, I wondered what would happen if I said no. The thought terrified me, which told me everything. I tried setting a small boundary. "I can help less this month," I said carefully. Silence. Then her voice hardened. "So now you're punishing me?" "No," I said quickly. "I just have expenses." She scoffed. "You've forgotten struggle." That word again. Forgotten. As if pain must be permanent to be respected. She hung up on me. I sat alone, shaking. Not because she was angry, because I had chosen myself, and survived. She didn't call for weeks. Relatives started messaging. "Your mother is hurt. She sacrificed everything. Family doesn't act like this." No one asked what I felt. They only asked what I owed. I realized guilt travels fast in families. Truth does not. I stopped explaining. I kept working, kept breathing, kept choosing calm. Then came the call. She was crying, not softly, dramatically. "I'm alone," she said. "You left me like your father did." That cut deep. My father had left when I was young. She knew that wound. Using it felt intentional. Something inside me hardened. "I didn't leave you," I said slowly. "I grew." She cried louder. "You're selfish." I didn't argue. I didn't apologize. For the first time, I let her feel disappointed. After that call, I sat quietly for a long time. No music, no phone, just stillness. I realized something important. If love only exists when I obey, it isn't love. If care disappears when I set limits, it isn't care. And if being a good son means losing myself, the cost is too high. I wasn't angry anymore. I was done. The next conversation would change everything. My mother called early the next morning. Her voice sounded calm again. Too calm. "I need to talk to you," she said. I already knew this wouldn't be about feelings. "I'm listening," I replied. She took a breath. "I've decided something." That sentence always meant trouble. "I'm getting older," she continued. "It's time you start planning your life around me." I waited. "You should move back," she said. "Or send enough so I don't worry anymore." Not a request. A decision made without me. I closed my eyes. For the first time, I didn't feel panic. I felt tired. "I can't do that," I said. The words felt strange, but solid. "What?" she snapped. "I can't build my life around guilt," I said calmly. Her breath sharpened. "So you're choosing yourself over me?" I thought carefully. "No," I said. "I'm choosing adulthood." She laughed bitterly. "After everything I did, this is how you repay me?" There it was again. Debt. Always debt. "I didn't ask to be born," I said quietly. "But I've tried to live responsibly." Silence followed, then anger. She listed every sacrifice she ever made. Years, details, pain. I listened without interrupting. When she finished, she asked, "Do you deny any of that?" "No," I said. "I honor it." "Then you owe me." I inhaled slowly. "No," I said. "I appreciate you, but I don't belong to you." Her voice shook. "You sound ungrateful." I stayed calm. Gratitude isn't ownership. She yelled then, called me cold, changed, Western, unrecognizable. I didn't raise my voice. That seemed to frighten her more. "I gave you life," she shouted. "Yes," I replied, "and you raised me." "Then you must obey." That word echoed. Obey. Something settled inside me. "I won't," I said. Not angrily, not proudly, just honestly. She cried hard, not from sadness, from losing control. "You think you're free now?" she asked. I answered gently, "I think I'm responsible for myself." She hung up. The silence afterward was different, not heavy, clear. I didn't rush to fix it, didn't send money immediately, didn't explain myself to relatives. For the first time, I let the space exist. Days passed, then weeks. I felt grief, but also relief. Both can live together. When she finally called again, her voice was quiet. "I don't recognize you," she said. I answered honestly, "I'm still your son." She hesitated. "But I'm not your solution anymore." She didn't respond. I could hear her breathing, slow, tired. "I'm scared," she whispered. I softened. "I know," I said, "but fear can't run my life." We talked differently after that. Shorter calls, less demand, more listening. Not perfect, but real. She didn't apologize. I didn't ask her to. Some parents don't know how, but she stopped saying I owed her. That was enough. I continued helping, within limits, not out of fear, out of choice. That changed everything. The money no longer controlled me. Neither did her approval. I slept better, worked better, lived lighter. Freedom wasn't loud. It was quiet mornings without dread. At a family gathering months later, someone said, "You've changed." I nodded. Yes. My mother watched me carefully. Then she said something small. "He's grown." Not proud, not bitter, just true. That felt like peace. She once told me I owed her everything, and for a long time, I believed her. But love is not alone, and sacrifice is not a leash. I didn't stop being her son. I just stopped being owned. That changed things.